Hi everyone, this is Fazana from Fazana's Law, and in this video I'll be sharing with you all my secret formula that I've used in all my law exams to make sure that I got that 75 or 80% in all my law exams. So stay tuned for the whole entire video to know the flipping hell. Hi everyone, this is Fazana from Fazana's Law, and in this video I'll be sharing with you all my secret formula that I've used in order to make sure that I use in all my law exams in first, second and third year to get me a 75 or 80% or first class in general. So stay tuned for the formula. If you're new to this channel, then welcome to you. I make videos on law, productivity and self-growth weekly basis, whether there might be a Wednesday or Sunday, so stay tuned and subscribe to this channel if you want to be notified first. And let's get started with today's video. So this formula has been well known by everyone out there, but the thing is not everyone understands what the formula actually means and what it stands for and how to really apply it to all the law exams that we might have possibly in the next 3 years in the LLB. So everyone knows the formula and it's called IRAC. So IRAC. So what does that really mean? And I'm going to be explaining it very in detail in this whole entire video and how to really make sure that you can use it to your own advantage to make sure you can answer any kind of problem question in the exam, because as you know already, in law you're mostly going to have problem questions, which means problem-based scenarios, and you have to really answer and apply the law based on the scenario that you're given in written. So that's why it's really important for you to really know this formula really well. But the thing is, whenever teachers explain this formula to students, they don't really understand, or even if they do understand, it's very late in their degree and stuff. So potentially they get 2 1s or 2 2s in the first few years, and then in the third year possibly few of them get a first. But in this video I'm going to be making sure that this formula is really in detail for you, to make sure that you can start from now on as a first year law student to use it in all your exams. So as I mentioned before, the first letter that you have to really consider is I. So what does I stand for? Identifying the problem. So what problem do you have to identify in the scenario? What is the problem that is occurring in the scenario when you're reading? Because the problem questions are given because there is a problem between the two parties, and this could be applicable in any kind of scenario given. So if you're, for example, doing family law, it could be like a domestic violence situation problem, or it could be a divorce related problem, or it could be, and if you're doing commercial law, for example, it could be something related to maybe digital consumption or something like that, or any other things. I don't really remember all the module names anymore because I've done it in such a long time ago anyway. But you have to identify when you're reading the problem question, you have to really realize what is the problem that sticks out when you're reading it. So, and straight away you should be able to know, like, oh, if there is a problem between the two parties and there has been, let's say, adultery between the two, then you exactly know that this is going to be a topic about divorce. So I will have to talk about divorce because it is possible that one of the parties will want to take a divorce because one of them has committed adultery, and adultery is one of the grounds for divorce that is applicable in the UK. So definitely this is how you will know. And how will you know what problem is what? By doing lots and lots of past papers. But for general tips, I'll be making a separate video on how to get a first, and general tips on how to get a first in general in law exams. So now that you identify the problem, the next step is to make sure you know what law can be applicable for that particular scenario or problem that you have now addressed and identified. So for that, you have to know the relevant law that might be applicable in that field. So for example, as I mentioned before, for the example of adultery, for example, you will now have to go back to your notes and see what exactly laws might be related to adultery, or where does it say that, you know, that adultery is the ground or one of the grounds of divorce and stuff. So you have to go back to your notes and see what law is applicable, and in that way you will know exactly that you have identified the problem first of all, and second of all you know that there is a law for it, so you can actually advise the person that you might be advised in the scenario very well, and you're trying to support that person as much as possible, right? So you have to know your law very well and only apply the ones that are relevant to the scenario and not the ones that are just randomly putting it out there. So you're not describing the law in this section. So when you're writing, you're not describing, you're just analyzing and applying it, and you can't be just writing the whole whatever you have learned in family law in the exam, because that's just going to decrease your marks, and that's how people decrease their marks very easy, because they think that the more I write about the law and all the laws that I've learned in family law, the more better it is for me. But that's not true, because in practice you're not going to be bringing a client and telling them, oh yeah, this is the law. It's going to be very specific specific. So you have to be very specific in what laws you're talking about when you're answering the question. So you can't just be waffling around with all kinds of laws. So the next part, I feel like the third part, which is application, I feel like this is the part where I would say 90% of the students lose their marks, because this is the part where all the meat comes and all the reward comes for actually being so detailed as much as possible. And I feel like if you can do this part really, really well, then there's nothing can stop you from getting a 75 or 80%. So what is it? It is the application of the law. So now you have identified the problem, you know what the law is, now you have to apply it to the scenario as much as you can, and you have to be very distinct and write it very simply in this area. Because if you start waffling and writing nonsense and really writing whatever you like, you're not gonna get the marks. And the more specific and short you can be in your answering your question, the better it is for you to get the marks, and the more the examiner will know what you're talking about. So what are some of the questions that you can really ask yourself when you're writing the application part, how to write it really well? Because I feel like if you have some set of questions in your head whilst you're writing the application bit, then it can be so much helpful. Actually, these are some of the questions that I would definitely ask when writing the application section for my answers. So the first question that you can ask yourself is, how would the outcome of the case really affect the parties that you're advising in the scenario? So let's say if Sally comes and Sally's husband has committed adultery and stuff, and you know that adultery again is one of the grounds of divorce and stuff, and you tell her this, so how is that going to affect her outcome? How is it going to affect her argument? How is it going to support that argument? Obviously that's going to support her argument, because then she can use adultery, this ground, as a way for her to get herself a divorce from her husband. So you have to basically tell in this scenario, when you're writing this, that this is how this law is basically how this is how going to affect the parties and any people in general that are involved in this scenario. So if it's a husband, then obviously that means that he cannot refuse from getting a divorce or something like that, and all those kind of things. So the next thing that I would definitely say to ask yourself when you're answering the application bit of this formula is to ask yourself, how would a judge decide the outcome of this case? So how would what will be the thinking of a judge when they're coming up with this problem in front of them? So you have to really ask yourself and answer yourself the question as though you're a judge or a lawyer, or you're someone who's a barrister or something like that, or somebody who's very professional, and you're trying to advise this person as much as possible on their behalf and trying to support them, and be honest with them as well. Like, if you are going to be applying this law, that means that this is what's going to happen. If you say this, then this is what's going to happen, and this will be the likely outcome. So you have to be very careful in how you're phrasing stuff. And yeah, and another thing that I would definitely say is that will give you more extra marks is try to also mention maybe if the outcome is so, if the outcome is yes, that, you know, if you commit adultery then you're gonna get divorced and stuff like that, then how is this outcome of this case gonna affect the future cases possibly? Maybe will it need more detail explanation, or will it need more detail in terms of facts or something like that to make the distinction, or will it be easier? Whatever it is, you have to also mention like how it will affect the future cases, and yeah, that's all. So the last part of this formula is C, which is conclusion. And the conclusion is very important because it ties together everything that you've written in the past few pages. So in the conclusion, obviously you're going to state and summarize whatever you've written. Second of all, you're going to be writing maybe that if you add more facts to the case, maybe the outcome can possibly change, but at the same time you're going to be talking about the answer that you've come up with the support of your own evidences. So as you know that in law there is no right and wrong answer, but as long as you have the evidence to support your arguments, that's the right answer and stuff. So it doesn't really it doesn't have to be that hard, but as long as you write a few sentences at the end what your conclusion is, that can really help the examiner know what your stand is and how you're advising the person. And at the same time, you're just gonna summarize generally what the outcome is of the case. So in general, problem-based questions are all about advising the person that you have been told to advise in the scenario. So you're basically specifically you have to know who the party is, what the problem is, and how would you advise them as a lawyer or a judge if they come up with you in the problem scenario in the court or in the office or whatever it is. So that's basically it, and that's how you would use the IRAC formula in the exams and law exams, because I think this formula is so underrated, is overrated actually, but it's not really well understood by students, which is why only a few percentage of people can actually use it very well and get a first. But let me tell you, this formula is life-changing, and it can be very, very good for your essay writing skills, especially if you want to be like an academic make, or if you want to be a teacher in the future and stuff like that. So really mastering this formula really does help. This brings me end to my video on how to get a first class or 75% or more in your law exams, especially for the questions that might be based on problem-based questions and stuff. And if you want to know how more in detail about this, then please do comment down below if you have any other topics that you might want to maybe me to do in the future, because I know that law school is very hard and challenging, and I wish that I had these kind of videos when I was back then in 2017 during my first year, and I was struggling as hell because I didn't really know what to do. It was very completely new to me. So please do comment down below any other topics that you might have. And also, are you really excited to start law school? Then please also comment down below yes or no. And are you nervous? Are you feeling better? Are you feeling excited to start law school? Please do comment down below. I would love to read them and reply to you, and I always reply back, so never think that I'm going to be ignoring your comments, not at all. So please do comment down below. Also, before you leave, I'd just like to say that I have a special announcement to make for anyone who wants to get a first class in law school and stuff like that, and that is I've created this free PDF checklist for all of you to access for free. And it doesn't take that long to really access this, because all you have to do is just click the link in the description box below and you will get there very soon and fast. And I cannot wait to see you actually downloading this and implementing this, because I promise to you whatever is written in that PDF will definitely change your life, because it definitely has mine, and I'm the living proof that I've got a first class after doing all those things that I mentioned in this checklist that are foolproof. And I cannot wait to see you making those changes, and in order to make sure that you get a step closer to that first class as much as possible, because it is all about these little habits that I've done in the past 2-3 years that have really pushed me into getting that first class that I always wanted to get and dreamt of. And I'm sure that everyone is, and if you are here, that means that it's your dream as well to get a first. So I don't understand why you wouldn't want to. Really click that link in the description box below. So please go ahead and go down below and click it if you really enjoyed it. And if you have come to this end and you're still watching me, that means you're really serious about getting that first. So well done and congratulations to you. I cannot wait to see you shining on your results day with that first. And if you're really interested in kind of content based on laws, productivity and self-growth, which I make on weekly basis every Wednesday or Sunday, I'm not really sure which day to upload still, but any of those 2 days, then please be notified first by subscribing to this channel, liking this video and sharing it with anyone who might be interested in getting a first. And if you love them, of course, then you will want to share with them, right? So I will see you in my next video, which will be all about giving you general tips on how to get a first class in law exams in general. And I promise you that video is going to be very helpful, so you don't want to miss it out, and you want to be the first one checking it out and getting that grade, because I know that you deserve it very much so. So definitely please stay tuned. Hi everyone, this is Fazana from Fazana's Law, and in this video I'll be sharing with you all my secret formula that I've used in all my law exams that got me a first. So stay tuned for the why?